I'm really interested in sort of how digital technology is transforming traditional industries. I think right now I'm spending a lot of time trying to understand the evolution of business models and operating models, which is basically how companies differentiate themselves from their competitors, how they make money, and how they build the capabilities and systems to sustain their capacity to do that. What I'm seeing is there's tremendous change across a lot of industries, as I know we've talked about many times before, but uh, anything from the sort of traditional software environments to the car industry, to the financial services sector, to healthcare.
Said before, one of the things that's most exciting to me about the space is how you can have a conversation with digital transformation in so many different verticals. And I think that Sam opened my eyes to what was going on in financial services a few years back when he was running the trading desk at BNP. And since then, it's been sort of a fascinating discussion to see how a world that is very data-centric, but in some ways also pretty traditional, is going through this gigantic transformation that is just starting to really, I think in many ways, just really explode.
Data, what kind of deals are you looking at? Can we look at inventory quicker, faster, better? I think all this is ready for disruption because it's all what you're describing is, well, it's M&A or it's the wealth platforms. These are all high-end relationship businesses. And what we see in every other industry is this gets disrupted by digital and by transformation. And it's going to be through software and platforms that help them.
I think the challenge with it is every business is different, just like every client's different. And a lot of these businesses and organizations, particularly roll-ups and things, they try to fit everybody into the same mold. And so what digital is going to allow for is that customization. So at the end of the day, you have a database, and you want to be able to express it differently for different practices, different clients. Like what Sam said, you can get a bunch of programmers in, and they'll do exactly what you tell them to, but you need a marriage of business and technology, or else you wind up with something that doesn't work. And one of the problems I think we still face in financial services, people haven't quite embraced that.
Another thing we haven't really talked about, but in this digital age too, is design is so important. And the UX and UI of how you design product is so important. And so I think in the advisor space as well, it needs to be really clean, really easy to use. So when you're sitting down with a client, they say, wow, that's so easy, that's so interesting. I almost want to play with it myself. So a good example is TurboTax. And the head of Intuit was saying the other day that he got all these reports always saying it's easy to use. And he said, oh, we don't need to redesign TurboTax. And then he said, but I'm not seeing people use it that long every day. So he realized, he asked a different question, do you really like to use it? And people said, no. And what was happening is these new internet kind of TurboTax companies were coming in. It was so high-end UX, UI. It was so easy to use, people were using it. So he changed the whole company in the last 6 months and said, we had like 3 designers reporting to the CEO. Now there's like 35 going into management. So a part of the advisory business is really how do you create a product that is so good but so easy to use and so kind of consumer-like that people like to use it and it helps the advisor.